Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be in time and space. Back for another day of blood in Baldur's Gate. This is day 12, and boy, do we have a lot of walking around to do today. So, we did, your votes did unlock Sorcerer's Sundries, so let's start there, and then I'll show you our notifications and other places that we need to go to today. So, Sorcerer's Sundries is one of the most popular magic shops in the city. When you enter the tall building with the domed roof, the first thing that catches your eye is how the multicolored glass above causes light to shine into the shop like a rainbow. The ground floor of the shop is decorated with luxurious furnishings, ornate rugs, and silk window dressings. The proprietor of this magical shop is a wizard who appraises you with his eyes as you enter. When you approach the sales counter, you explain your line of work and begin to make inquiries into the recent string of murders. Dagger? Ah, yes, says the proprietor. An athame. Used in sacrificial rituals, common among cultists, but not used exclusively by them, of course. Not the sort of thing I usually deal in, though I do appreciate your perception. Not many would know this item requires attunement by a sorcerer. If I recall, I sold it to a discerning young white dragonborn. His voice trails off, then he looks at you with surprise. Oh, you must be here to resell sell the dagger? My apologies. Did Crane have a suggested price? When you explain you're not in the market to sell the blade, the wizard apologizes for the confusion and changes the topic of conversation. Cold magic. That's quite the riddle, the wizard says when you provide a hypothetical scenario in which someone freezes to death where weather cannot be a factor. In a mundane sense, at least, however, any spellcaster worth their weight in spell components could tell you there are many spells and magic items that could achieve such a deadly effect. Depending on the size of the room in question, certain creatures could easily accomplish this feat, such as a silver or white dragon. Rare plant. Before leaving, you deliver the mysterious item to the shopkeeper, who can hardly stifle a smile. Without further ado, he takes the staircase to the upper floors that are off limits to patrons. Moments later, you hear an unmistakable screech of a shrieker plant, followed by the sound of glass clinking shut to silence the creature. Laughter fills the shop. Having delivered on the bizarre request, you may now return to Insight Park, where Torimesh promised to reveal a prophecy from the drawing tree. Alright. So, let's go back to Insight Park and see if we have an update. The prophecy. Torimesh barely stifles a grin when you return with news of delivering the rare plant to the shopkeeper at Sorcerer's Sundries. As promised, he carefully peels bark from the drawing tree and lets out an audible gasp. Turning the bark over, he reveals to you a scene rendered in bloody sap. It shows you running down the street of Baldur's Gate, chased by flaming fist mercenaries who hold a wanted poster featuring a crude sketch of your face. You've either made some powerful enemies, this druid starts, or you're a good actor. For what it's worth, I don't think it's the latter. When you inspect the bark more closely, you note that your shadow takes on the appearance of a dragonborn. Does the gravedigger at Cliffside Cemetery know more about the dragonborn than she's letting on? Okay. So now we've got our... That was really strange. Alright, now according to our notifications, we have our stuff to vote for, but the plant was removed from our satchel. The landlady refuses to talk to her. The landlady refuses to talk about her tenants. Old Town Avenue is no longer available. New information can be found at Fisher's Wharf. So let's go there. Drusilla, the eccentric alchemist who once hired you to track down a missing talisman, Sent a courier to your place at Lockley Street with a cryptic message. I thought I could give you a hand in your investigation. You make your way down the pier to her oddly decorated houseboat. Conversation. As you step onto the boat, you hear snippets of conversation from within. It's an idle chatter that you recognize as Drusilla speaking to her dead sister Kate, who's remains sitting under her dining table. Pausing just outside the open door, you knock on the frame and she welcomes you in. Gave me quite a start the other day, she tells you. I was cleaning barnacles off me house when I spied something odd beneath the pier. Thought you ought to know. Tried reporting it to one of the flaming fist guards who regularly patrol the area, but all I got were threats for not minding my own business. Pier. Drusilla points you to the place beneath the pier where she found something disturbing. Closer inspection reveals a bloody handprint that looks to be roughly the shape of a dragonborn's. As you hold the light up to it, you catch a glimpse of a grate that likely leads to some underground passageway. Undercity. Drusilla peers down at you from the bow of her boat and you head topside to ask her what she knows about the grate. Danger lurks in them parts, Tav. The Undercity is a place haunted in many ways. Home to the cutthroats and thieves, mostly some say a passage leads off into river veins where cultists perform wicked rituals to their wicked gods. Not all as it seems though, mind you. A young thief named Little Magpie around Canary Lane has been taken under the wing of a guild member who harbors those that find themselves on the wrong side of the law. Okay. We were also told to go back to our home on Lockley Street. Late in the evening, you arrive at your modest tenement, ready to call it a night from your investigations. Under the darkened archway of the entrance, the silhouette of a figure wearing a top hat catches your eye. The butler. Greetings, detective, he says, stepping into the light. As he tips his hat, you note it is decorated with 2 feathers and the skeleton of some strange aquatic creature. You note it is decorated with 2 feathers and the skeleton of some strange aquatic creature. Beneath the hat is a small withered man with a chalky face made even paler by a hooked red nose and pointed ears. He smiles at you with sharp teeth. Poor detective, he pouts. Perhaps you wish to abbreviate your suffering. Join us for a cup of tea? We offer an assortment of blends catering to varying palates. My master has a discerning tongue and is sure to be parched after you are slaughtered. He ambles past you into the night. Letter. You quickly head inside and pick up the letter that Magpie delivered to you. Are there any further clues in the note that you may have overlooked? Maybe it's time to return to Canary Lane and make more inquiries about who tasked the young thief with delivering the letter. Talisman. Realizing you didn't lock up, you head back to the front doors to do so. Passing by your coat hook, you notice the talisman that usually hangs by the door, a gift from your first client, Drusilla, is missing. Filled with remorse for her role in unwittingly selling humanoid meat for consumption, the mortician has sent word to you that she has dug up the autopsy reports for the recent killings. You arrive at the morgue where she leaves you to review the files while she meets with the corpse collector outside. Autopsy reports. Reading through the autopsy reports, you pull up the files of the murder victims. Sailor's Crossing Bard. The elf was killed with an anchor which requires formidable strength or magic. A note in the report mentions he was wearing a false beard. Blade and Stars. Butcher. Magnus Shank was somehow strung up from a lantern in the alley, requiring great strength or magic. Cause of death was a slit throat. Stringing him up like a slaughtered animal sped the process of bloodletting. Silver Crescent Beach. Dragonborn. As you confirmed, with the corpse, the Dragonborn's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. The victim was flayed and unrecognizable, but a family member identified the body as Julikar Kezerin. The mortician notes the victim was a white dragonborn. Sea Tower of Baldurin, supplier, Selwyn Levantide, was found mysteriously frozen solid in a jail cell. The report on cause of death is inconclusive, as either a cold damage spell or a weapon could explain the mysterious circumstances. You surmise this was either an inside job or the murderer impersonated a Flaming Fist soldier. How did we miss this? You surmise this was either an inside job or a murderer impersonated by a Flaming Fist soldier. Insight Park, Gambler. The gambler, Felsen Felgrim, was found entangled in a hedge and died from slashing damage. The mortician notes that the slashes are indicative of thorns rather than a dagger. On your visit to Insight Park, the druid believed a spellcaster used nature itself to kill the victim. So, the sea tower, right? Waves lap alongside the breakwater path that leads to the fortifications sitting upon a rocky islet. Up ahead, you see the stout form of a member of the Flaming Fist staring out at the river. Jailer. The dwarf standing at the causeway crosses her arms as you approach to plead your case for help in the investigation. Not many detectives taking on cases like this, let alone without pay, she says. You're either desperate or in over your head, or maybe not right in the head. But our lead suspect is dead, and not by his own hand. What have I got to lose showing you the body? Not like you're going to try anything funny in a fortress with 100 Flaming Fist soldiers. The supplier. You are brought to the scene of the crime deep within the fortress. The sound of water echoes around you. Outside a cell door are the remains of Selwyn Levantide. Though his clothes are waterlogged, his body is frozen solid. He was sent to the swimming hole for an attitude adjustment, the jailer says. Found him floating like this an hour later, like he'd been in an ice storm. You can see for yourself. That's impossible. Swimming hole. Sliding down a metal plate, open on the cell door, the dwarf holds a torch up for you to see inside a flooded and lightless shaft. Any prisoner sent here would have to tread water constantly or drown. The dwarf stands statue still by your side and calmly tells you, speak a word of this place to anyone and you'll go for a swim yourself. Understand? Rourke Stonevalor, mindful of your precarious position, you delicately inquire about the whereabouts of the lead investigator when the latest murder occurred. The jailer arches an eyebrow at you. He's on furlough, she says. Can't say I blame him after closing this case. He's setting sail in the next day, I believe. I'll tell you what, though. Rourke Stonevalor may have temper that gets the better of him, but he's no killer. In fact, I thought he turned over a new leaf with this newfound worship of Ilmater. If you had a drink with some of the soldiers at Low Lantern, they'd tell you all about it. Clues. Since the conditions inside the swimming hole make it impossible for an ice storm, you deduce some sort of magic was involved. Sorcerer Sundries is in the business of selling spell components and could help narrow down what kind of magic could be involved. So yeah, by throwing so much of this at once, we got all turned around. We were supposed to go here first, and then go there, and then go there, and okay. So now we need to decide how we're going to vote, and your vote matters. So vote now to decide if we will explore Eastway Expeditions, Harbor Master's Office, Low Lantern, the Counting House, Cliffside Cemetery, or Canary Lane. Choose wisely. Okay. I think we should go to the Low Lantern. And I'm going to vote to visit this location. And we are done. Wow. That is the longest one yet today. A lot going on. And I can't see any of it coming together. They're throwing so much at us at once that I can't figure it out. Have you got any clues? Let me know in the comments. What do you think's going on? All right, my fellow detectives, we'll see you tomorrow for day 13 of Blood and Baldur's Gate.